Terrence. This is a story about Terrence the tractor. When Thomas met Terrence plowing a field, he was very rude to him. But when snow came to Sodor, Thomas found out that Terrence and his caterpillar tracks could be really useful. Autumn had arrived to the island of Sodor. Leaves were changing from green to brown, and the fields were changing too, from yellow stubborn to brown earth. As Thomas puffed along, he heard the chug 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 of a tractor hard at work close by. "Hello," said Thomas the tractor. "I'm Thomas, pulling a train." "Hello," said the tractor. "I'm Terrence. I'm plowing." "What ugly wheels you've got," said Thomas. "They're not ugly, they're caterpillars," said Terrence. "I can go anywhere. I don't need rails." "I don't want to go everywhere," replied Thomas huffily. "I like my rails, thank you very much." The next time Thomas saw Terrence plowing in a field, he called to them. "You missed a bit over there, in the corner, silly old tractor." And he whistled rudely. But Terrence carried on plowing and didn't reply. Winter came and with it, dark, heavy clouds full of snow. A snowplow was fixed to Thomas, but it was heavy and uncomfortable, and he hated it. He shook it, and he banged it until it was so dented that it eventually had to be taken off. "You're a very naughty engine," said his driver as he shut doors that night. The next morning, Thomas, the driver and fireman, worked hard to mend the snowplow, but they couldn't make it fit properly, so Thomas had to set out without it. "I don't need that stupid old thing," he said to himself. "Snow is silly soft stuff. It won't stop me." But as he rode along, the snow kept making his wheels spin, and he found it quite at a struggle. He passed Terrence in a field. "You seem to be having trouble there," called out Terrence. "It's a pity you don't have caterpillars, then the snow wouldn't bother you." This time, it was Thomas who didn't reply. "Silly soft stuff, puffed Thomas as he continued on his journey. He rushed into a tunnel, and at the other end, he saw a heap of snow fallen in from the side of the cutting. "Stupid old snow," said Thomas, and charged it. "Cinders and ashes," said Thomas, as he ground to a halt. "I'm stuck!" And he was. "Oh, my wheels and coupling rods," said Thomas sadly. "I shall have to stay here till I'm frozen." And he began to cry. Just then, who should come chugging along but Terrence the tractor. "I heard you were in trouble," said Terrence, "so I've come to help." First, Terrence pulled Annie and Clarabelle away from the snowdrift. "Thank you, Terrence. Thank you, Terrence," they said. They were relieved to be free from the snow, and were sorry that Thomas had been so rude to Terrence. Next, Terrence came back for Thomas. He pulled and pulled, but Thomas was buried so deeply in the snow that Terrence was struggling, wasn't strong enough to move him. "I shall never escape," thought Thomas sadly. The driver tried to dig the snow away from Thomas, but as fast as they dug, more snow slipped down. At last, Thomas's wheels were cleared, but they still spun helplessly when he tried to move. Terrence tugged and slipped and tugged, And eventually, with an enormous effort, he dragged Thomas clear of the snow and into the tunnel. Thomas was very grateful. "Thank you, Terence," he said. "I think your caterpillars are splendid. I'm sorry that I was so rude to you before." "My caterpillars are certainly useful," said Terence. "But I can't go very fast. I couldn't pull a passenger train like you who can, Thomas." "My wheels would be much used for plowing a field," replied Thomas. And with that, Terence returned to his farm while Thomas puffed tiredly back to the engine shed. From then on, Terence and Thomas were good friends. Whenever they passed each other, they always exchanged a cheerful greeting and were never rude to each other again.